Okay, it's Friday. We know that's what you're talking about. You're getting ready for the weekend, but you can't get ready yet. You got to call in and weigh in on this topic we're going to introduce today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hello there. I'm Debbie Georgiani with Jerry Usher. And Jerry, I think this is a very important topic, but I'm almost too bored to even cover it.
Very good, very good. What we're asking you today, have you ever been bored with life? And that can take a lot of shapes, a lot of forms. It could be professionally, you've just kind of hit a dry spot in your job, or maybe circumstances in your life have just changed to a certain point where you're just not really all that enthusiastic about life anymore. Maybe you've been through that and you've kind of come out of that and you've managed to resolve it. We'd love to hear what you did to do that. So that's our topic for today.
It definitely weaves into our spirituality. You will see, because Jerry and I will be covering how boredom is a pathway for the demons to get in there and to be filled with something else that is not of God, that can actually take you away from God. So when you're bored, it's not necessarily a good thing, and we'll be talking about that. But we want to ask the question, have you ever been bored with life? Have you ever been bored with life? You ever just wake up or in the middle of the day and you're thinking, man, it just... What's that movie? It feels like, is it Groundhog Day, where it kept having the same day over and over again? Wasn't that Bill Murray? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, do you ever feel that way? You know, the same thing over and over again, and it could get quite boring. Well, if you've ever had those moments in life, or maybe you're in one of those periods of life where does feel like you're stuck, you're bored, you don't know what to do, you don't really have much excitement about getting up in the morning, please call us. You don't have to be Catholic to call in. We really want to address this before the weekend so that you can have a really exciting weekend. You see, we want that to be that way for you, especially during Lent, because if you have more of, energy behind diving deep into the Lenten season, it can be transformative. So there's a reason, there's a method to our madness here. So please join us, 833-288-3986.
Well, yeah, and Lent gives us a great opportunity to remedy boredom, if you will, because we often change things up in our lives during the season of Lent. We take on maybe more prayer time. We give up certain things because we can get in ruts with everything, even including the foods that we eat. Even I'll even admit this, in my prayer life, just in the last couple weeks, I have found myself I wouldn't say bored, but just a little bit stale. And what I do is I start my prayer time every day with listening to worship music, and then I do some scripture and some spiritual reading. Well, I found myself listening to the same songs, to start my prayer time every day.
Sure.
And I thought, you know what? And it just starts to weigh on your heart a little bit. So what I've done in this last week, Debbie, is I've gone back to some other songs that I used to listen to that I'd forgotten about. So it just kind of refreshes things, So we're asking you today, Take Two family, has anything like this happened to you? Have you gone through a period in life, maybe you're there right now, where, the job is just the same old, same routines at home, with your friends, and again, maybe in your spiritual life or your prayer life. What do we do about that? What have you done about that? 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
I got to thinking as you were talking, Jerry, and I just started thinking that, when you do have that rut that sets in, or that boredom, it can be filled with more couch time, more TV time, more computer time, more eating, more drinking, all sorts of things can happen when you get bored. And I found that during the pandemic, Jerry, I went through really, I think, long stretches of boredom. And I think a lot of people could relate to that, because I'm a social, me, I'm a social butterfly. I go out there all the time, talk to everybody. I love talking to people. I love talking to people about God. Actually, what really bores me is when I can't talk about God. That bores me. That's why I'm not good at a cocktail party at all. Not all. Don't invite me to any cocktail parties, because I like to talk about God. I like to go deep. And so I found I had long stretches of boredom during the pandemic, but I caught up on a lot of reading, spiritual reading. A lot of the books that our listeners can probably see on my bookshelf right behind me, over my left shoulder. I caught up on those books, and I also watched a lot of religious movies.
Yeah. Well,
that was a good filler of time.
Sure, you made good use of the time. And that is really good. From a spiritual standpoint, maybe you were going to discuss this, but I'll mention it here briefly. There's a condition called, I've heard it pronounced different ways, acidia or acidia. We'll go with acidia because that's what I'm seeing on my computer screen right now. But here's the definition on Wikipedia. Acidia has been variously defined as a state of listlessness or torpor, of not caring or not being concerned with one's position or condition in the world. In ancient Greece, akidia literally meant an inert state. Inert state. And folks, in the reading I've done about this, Debbie, you probably have too. This is actually a very dangerous place.
It is.
For a soul to be. It's hard to get out of that.
It is hard to get out of that. Exactly. As a matter of fact, it's interesting that you're bringing this up, this state of feeling of this, because I spoke to a priest recently on air on one of the pledge drives. We actually talked about it, and he addressed that it is very dangerous, and we really have to make sure we don't go into that state. We make sure that we have a lot of support around us to get out of those times in our life where we feel really just like, I think you used the word stale, or even if we stalled out, or just in a real dry kind of stuck place. And then laziness sets in. There's all sorts of things that can be deadly sins. Yeah,
and that what I just mentioned, that acidia, reminds me a little bit of what Jesus says in the book of Revelation, about lukewarmness. If you were lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth. Okay, we're not trying to scare anybody here. We just want to know if you have had a period in your life, or maybe you are there now, or you've come out of it, of just kind of this blah, blah, what's life about, kind of going through the motions and feeling a little bit bored. It's an important conversation, and you know what? We always try to come away from these discussions on Take Two in a better place, and we certainly hope and pray for that for you on today's show. But you have to call in. 833-288-EWTN is the number, 833-288-3986. Matt Gabensky taking your calls. Jeff Burson. Who's on social media today? Jeff is still out, I think. It is, where is it? Somebody's on social media. I'll tell you that when we come back.
Michael McCall.
And Ace McKay, our producer. But the show is about you. It is your show, so take it away, Take Two family. 833-288-3986.
If it's central to the faith, you can find it on EWTN Podcast Central, featuring the best of EWTN radio, as well as faith-filled podcasts from our friends and affiliates across the nation, all in one place. All free. The destination for great Catholic audio programming is EWTN Podcast Central. It's like podcast heaven. Visit EWTN.com/radio/podcasts today.
Are you ready to spread your wings? Wings is the weekly newsletter that's packed with exclusive news, program information, features, and updates of all that's going on at the Global Catholic Network. To sign up, go to EWTN.com, click subscribe, enter your name and email address, and you'll start getting your wings every week. Get your wings today. It's the weekly newsletter from EWTN, the Global Catholic Network.
The most original Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
Hi, I'm Prudence Robertson. Next time on EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, a woman in the United Kingdom arrested twice for silently praying for an end to abortion joins us to discuss her legal battle. And there could be dangerous abortion measures on the ballot this year in Ohio and Missouri. We have the details. Sunday at 10 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. Eastern, only on EWTN Radio.
We're asking today, are you bored with life, or have you ever been bored with life? And I'm going to throw something out there, if I may, Jerry. I would like to ask the question, just, you don't have to out yourself. You can use your confirmation name. But are you ever bored at Mass? I would really like to know, are you ever bored at Mass? Let's talk about that. But before we go to the phones, we'd love to hear from you. Don't get started with your weekend yet. We know it's Lent. We know you're busy. It's a Friday in Lent, but we need to hear from you. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you, a live call-in show, a safe platform for you to share your lived experiences so we can benefit, so we can learn and grow together. Here is the number. Matt Gabinski is waiting to answer your call, 833-288-3986. Please, if you feel prompted by the Spirit, say yes and call in. Okay, before we get to Kelly, I wanted to share with our listeners, Jerry, EWTN Radio Essentials. Listen for the holy sacrifice of the Mass celebrated every 2 hours, plus rosaries, chaplets, Stations of the Cross, and other devotionals every hour. You can hear EWTN Radio Essentials on the EWTN app and at EWTN.com. I love the Radio Essentials. It was definitely essential during the pandemic and post-pandemic because you could always know that there were others around the world praying at the same time.
Yeah, great. All right. Are you ever bored with life, with your spiritual life, your faith life, your family, your work, your job, anything? We want to approach everything in life with a real fervor, with a real passion and sense of purpose, and that can be recovered if it's been lost. And maybe you've been through something like this. Share your experience because you're going to be educating and inspiring all of the, well, not all, maybe many of the other Take Two family listeners with your own lived experience at 833-288-3986. As Debbie mentioned, Kelly is in Sioux City, Iowa, listening on Siouxland Catholic Radio. And Kelly, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me, taking my call.
Sure.
I like the topic today. I listen to you all the time, and you guys help me so very much.
Oh, praise God.
Thank you.
I've been complacent and just kind of bored with my life, the same old every day. And nothing changing, nothing added, nothing taken away, just bored. And it just so happened at the same time I was going through that, I got a double whammy. I came down with seasonal depression and panic attacks and insomnia out of nowhere. And so I've just recently experienced a spiritual awakening. I wasn't praying. I wasn't going to Mass. And I was very, very into going to daily Mass, very committed to praying my rosary with my husband and doing the Station of the Cross, doing all of the Divine Chaplet, and all that was so full in my life. And I shut down 5 weeks ago, and I was scrolling through the internet, laying in my room, and St. Benedict popped up. And I said every one of the prayers. I would refuse to pray. I would have Catholic radio on, and I'd walk past my radio, and it'd be the Divine Chaplet, and I'd go, not today. And I'm just being honest. I don't know what came over me, but it was scary. I got real scared and having panic and just full of fear. And my husband was so, so kind to me through all of it and helped nurse me back to health with love. And after I read all the St. Benedict prayers and the song that was sung in Latin to remove evil spirits, temptation, it was a protection prayer from St. Benedict. So I said them all, did the Latin song 3 times in a row, went to bed, slept, got up the next day, got out of my bed, did some things around the house. The next day, I left my house. Now, I've been in bed for 5 weeks. So the third day, I was at confession and at Mass. The fourth day, I was at Mass, and I did a double Mass that day. And I went to the chapel, because we have a beautiful chapel, Trinity Heights, Queen of Peace. And I went to their little shop, and I bought every St. Benedict medal I could get my hands on and a house blessing beads. And had them all blessed, and it's on my neck. And I'm alive again. Jesus is alive in my soul. I've been doing the Divine Chaplet of Mercy twice a day, the rosary twice a day. I'm back to Mass. I don't know what came over me, but I have seasonal depression, and then anxiety came over me, and it paralyzed me. And I don't know if anybody's had it to that point, but I have had it several times that bad. And I just surrendered everything over the Lord. And all I can tell you right now is that I feel one with the Lord.
Beautiful.
He loves me. He loves you. He loves all of us. And don't give up. Some reason, God had me scrolling on my phone that day, that moment, and in that time, and found that St. Benedict prayer. And look what's happened. Yeah. I'm cooking dinner. I've got bean soup cooking with no ham. I'm shopping. I'm taking care of my house. I couldn't do any of this for 5 weeks. I am so grateful for your show and all the Catholic radio. And I need to give my alms gift. I mean, you're not supposed to tell when you give a gift, right? But it is almsgiving time, and it's a Lent. So what better time for me to be awakened with the spiritual awakening? Because God helps the broken. He helps those that have fallen down. And I really, truly believe the gospel today and the, God is so merciful. He's just so merciful.
Yes. Well, absolutely he is. And, it says in Scripture, I think it's in John chapter 10, if I'm not mistaken, Jesus came that we may have life and have it to the full, have life in abundance. That's what Jesus wants for us. And, he will allow sometimes what could be called maybe dryness sometimes. It sounds like this wasn't really probably dryness for you, Kelly, but you mentioned the seasonal depression, the anxiety, the insomnia. But, you did a lot of right things. I mean, the Holy Spirit led you to, right at that perfect moment, you saw, I think you said online, the St. Benedict prayer, and you started praying that. And your guardian angel definitely had a hand in that as well. So to hear you say, Jesus is alive in my soul, and you're excited about life again, this is the beautiful thing about, going through these valleys in life, because we're sometimes on mountaintops, sometimes we're down in valleys. Jesus took his apostles to both places. Remember, he took Peter, James, and John up on the mountain, and he did that, I think, in order that they would not, completely flee and turn away from him when he took them into the Garden of Gethsemane, because they knew in their minds, they said, we have seen his glory, although, all of the apostles except John did run away. But, this is, what a testimony, Debbie, from Kelly today.
I was thinking the same thing. Kelly, thank you so much for feeling comfortable. You said such kind words about EWTN, and we appreciate that. But thank you for being so comfortable and honest and real and raw about your experience, because that's what we want for the Take Two family. That's how we're going to learn. We've all been there on some level. And when you talked about the seasonal depression and the insomnia and just feeling that kind of, wow, walking past the prayers because you just couldn't bring yourself to pray. I think we can all relate to that. There are times if we really want to be honest, okay, if we really do, there are times when the world is just kind of very heavy on our heart and our soul. And it's like, wow, this is tough. This is really tough. But what I want to focus in on is you mentioned your husband, and he was a great support to you. It's exactly what Jerry and I were talking about at the beginning of the show. You might have been on the phone with Matt getting ready to come on air with us. But that's the important thing, is that when we feel this sense of, distance from God, or just like we're stuck, or we're in a very just, dry place where we can't kind of figure out and get that fire back in our belly, right? We need that support around us. We need people around us who understand us, who love us, who are kind to us, who can gently walk with us. And it sounds like you had that in your husband. You're very blessed. And that's wonderful. If you want to add his first name, I'm putting everybody in the prayer book today, because I pulled the prayer book out just to make sure we keep that fire for the Lord, and that fire in our belly. But if you want to give us his first name, that would be great. But I just wanted to say thank you for just being so incredibly honest with our listeners today, because that's what they need to hear. We don't need to have things glossed over and pretend like, oh, everything's okay when it's not okay. The world is tough. Our emotions are there, our psychological makeup, the things that are happening in life, and it's tough. Let's face it. And the sooner we say that, then we can work through it. And you demonstrated that in your testimony today, Kelly. What do you think?
No, I just love you. Thank you so much, Debbie. And Jerry, thank you so very much. God bless what you do for all of us. Oh. And my husband's name is Jerry. His real name is Jerome, and he thinks he's Saint Jerome. But we call his family growing up always called him Jerry. And another thing I just want to say real quick is that my husband was frustrated last year with when this happens to me, when I have seasonal depression and anxiety and that insomnia. Mm-hmm. And this year I looked at him and I just said, can you please just love me? And something happened.
Wow.
I just asked him, I said, can you just love me through this time? I need you. Mm-hmm. And he brought me food. He took care of me. He made me baths. He was so kind to me. And it's been a while since I've experienced that.
Mm-hmm. But that's what you needed. That's what you needed, Kelly. And Jerry was there for
love.
you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was. God bless him, too.
Well, yeah, what a saint. Yeah, it sounds like a saintly man.
Mm-hmm.
Brother says you're going to make a saint out of him.
You got to do us a favor, Kelly. When you see Jerry next, give him a big hug from us. Will you do that?
I will do that. He's probably listening right now.
Oh, Jerry, we think you're awesome.
He's at work.
Yeah, you're
He's
a hero,
at work,
Jerry.
So.
Well, you know what, Kelly? Since you took the time to be our first caller, and we're all about, a lot of love here at Take Two. If you think Jerry's listening, why don't you send a quick message to him right now? Jerry and I'll turn down our mics. Go ahead.
What I want to say to him right now?
Yeah, to Jerry, your husband.
Oh, yeah. Jerry, I love you so very much. You are showing me how to get back to God by your actions. Your actions have shown me love. Just this last 5 weeks, you woke me up. You offered to take me to Mass. You offered me to pray the rosary. I declined. And you never gave up. And then one night I said 2 weeks ago, yes, let me do the Stations of the Cross with you. And I struggled all the way through it, but I made it through to the end. It was online, and it lasted for 34 minutes, I think. And after that, something happened. I found St. Benedict right after that. My son found it, matter of fact. And he's the one that showed me St. Benedict. And the Latin song was just so beautiful. And I showed it to my husband, Jerry. And he is just like, I can't believe what's happening. I can't believe what's happened to you. You're back. No. So, Jerry, I love you. And I'm so glad that I married a Catholic man. You're great.
Fantastic. What beautiful words, Kelly. And
beautiful.
I can probably say this with 100% certainty that Jerry would say similar things back to you. What a beautiful relationship it sounds like they have.
I agree. Yeah. Well, now you have this broadcast as a keepsake, Kelly. Thank you so much for gracing this conversation. God bless you. Keep us posted, and we just love you to pieces. Have a beautiful rest of your Lent, okay?
Okay, you do the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. That will open up a phone line here. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. It is your show, and you just heard how it works. Mm-hmm. We put a topic out there. Debbie and I have a few little thoughts that we share, but then it is you who really drive the program at 800. No, that's I caught
pledge drive.
You notice I delayed for a second there. I've got them both. Yeah, Debbie and I are doing a pledge drive for Sacred Heart Radio in Seattle this week, and that was their phone number. Our phone number is 833. It's Friday, too. 833-288-3010. 833-288-3986. 833-288-3986. Maybe, Debbie, if you want to reset the topic, just kind of what we're, where we're going with this today.
You crack me up, Jerry. It's Friday. It is true. It is Friday. So we're asking the question today, have you ever been bored with life? Ever been bored with your faith life? Ever been bored at Mass? We just want to really get, this is what we do at Take Two. We cover the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. Okay, we want the real, raw truth. We don't want anything glossed over or glazed over. We want really the brutal, honest truth about things, because that is how we get deeper with the Lord, how we grow in our faith life. If you have something to say, Kelly had an amazing testimony of her 5-week period of going through this, and she was just beautiful. And her husband, Jerry, was part of it, and he helped her through it. So we want to hear from you. Please join us, 833-288-3986. We'll be right back.
For daily Lenten reflections, Lenten schedule, and resources to make this Lent a most meaningful season, visit EWTN.com/Lent today.
The most original Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
This is Debbie Cowden. This week on The Catholic Sphere, we're talking about homeschooling with Laura Berquist, Mary Ellen Barrett, and Paula Siskanik. And they'll explain the many reasons it's a wonderful and viable option to consider and how your family can get started.
The Catholic Sphere, Sunday afternoon, 2:30 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Hi, we're Greg and Jennifer Willits, founders of rosaryarmy.com.
Whether it's Advent, Christmas, Lent, Easter, or ordinary time, an excellent way to deepen your spiritual life is through the Rosary.
Whatever the season, praying the Rosary is a powerful way to meditate on the life of Jesus and Mary and to grow closer to them.
The Rosary helps us to contemplate the mysteries of our salvation and unites us to the life of Jesus and Mary.
Of all the tools in your spiritual toolbox, the Rosary is one of the best for building a solid spiritual foundation.
Join us at rosaryarmy.com to learn more about the benefits of praying the Rosary every day and how you can make it a part of your daily spiritual practice.
Remember, the Rosary is not just a prayer. It's a path to deeper spiritual understanding and closer union with Jesus and Mary. Find out more at rosaryarmy.com.
And you can listen to our shows, Adventures in Imperfect Living, and more at rosaryarmy.com and wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Dr. David Anders here. Where is purgatory in the Bible? Why confess my sins to a priest?
Find out more at 2 p.m. Eastern on Call to Communion.
Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Great to have you here on a Friday of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Friday of Lent. We're moving through this season of Lent rather quickly, at least I think we are. We're going to get right back to your calls. I just wanted to mention Debbie and I wrap up our 3-day involvement in a pledge drive, Sacred Heart Radio, based out of Seattle. They have some Northwest affiliate partners joining them, and it's day 3 today. So Debbie and I are doing that, and I mention that because if you're listening in that area, please support Catholic Radio. And next week, Armor of God Radio in Kempner, Texas, is airing their spring pledge drive, and Domestic Church Media in New Jersey airs their spring radiothon on their 4 New Jersey stations. So no matter where you're listening, please, Debbie and I do. We beg, we plead, we just exhort you to support your local Catholic radio station now more than ever, folks. The world is just going insane. We've got to have Catholic radio on the air to keep us living with clarity and truth. So there you go.
Yes. Okay, on YouTube, we're waving to you, Anna, or Anna, depending on how you pronounce your beautiful name. I get bored of being bored, but sometimes I confuse boredom with having to do something to be active instead of just learning to relax and being okay with staying still, in quiet, in silence. So she confuses boredom with having to do something to be active. Okay, the Martha and Mary. Okay, that's the ping pong match of Martha and Mary. Okay, Anna, I totally can relate. And you know what? There are those periods where we have to be Martha, okay? We have to. I mean, things have got to get done. You can't just hope and pray that the house gets cleaned and this gets done. But then there's the times that we do need to be calm and in a still place. Now, some people have a difficult time being still. There are people right now that are having a tough time going to adoration and staying for a full hour because they have a lot of emotional turmoil or things that they're dealing with, and they can't seem to calm themselves. And I just know when I was a spiritual director, we would tell people, well, then shorten your adoration time and do something else, like pray the rosary as you're walking, like around the park or something, because you may need to do that added movement or exercise to kind of relieve some of the tension that's inside of you. So there's all sorts of things. So I understand, Anna, I'm right with you. There are those times where it's sometimes it's hard to be quiet. Jerry, have you ever had those times?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it reminds me of a quote from Blaise Pascal. I think it was in the 15th or 16th century philosopher and theologian. And he said, I've said this on the air before, but he says, all of man's ills or misfortune stem from one thing, which is his inability to sit quietly in a room with himself. You know, we have a total global epidemic of that right now. Right. We just cannot be alone with ourselves, in our own thoughts, in our own hearts. And so Anna is getting at something important there. It's boredom versus being alone and at peace with yourself. If we develop the art of being able to be, still with ourselves and comfortable in our own skin, whether we're doing something or not doing something, I think that would go a long way to curing boredom and probably the acidia and a lot of other things in our lives.
But I do know, though, for myself anyway, when you have something that's really bothering you, or some kind of nervous energy, or something that just doesn't seem unsettled, sometimes silence and having it super quiet can be, it can really agitate. And so there may be a time that you need to talk to somebody or get some help. That's why when we do life coaching, we hear that all the time. People will say, is it okay that right now I can't sit in silence? I need to talk. I need to get this out and share my feelings. Absolutely. That's why you need a support system around you. Just like Kelly was sharing about her wonderful husband, Jerry. You need a support system. So Anna, that was a great comment you made on YouTube. Thank you so much. That really helped to shape this conversation. Let's move to Raquel. And Raquel is in Gibsonburg, Ohio on Annunciation Radio. Hello, Raquel.
Hello.
How are you?
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
So this is a situation, okay? I'm the youngest out of three. A year ago, my dad passed away, and my dad's goal was always to make sure that we were there for each other. I mean, I'm the youngest, and we lost our mom when I was only 18 months. So Dad kind of was, raised us and everything. So he always told us unity is the most important thing. Something happens to me, stay together, stay as a unit. And, we have done that. So when he passed away, I have a sister that works through the Diocese of Nevada, and I have my older sister that she works. Well, she doesn't work. She does a lot of work for the church in California. So there's the issue. Both of them know, all three of us, we know the Word of God. We know we're Catholics and everything, and I thank God. So during our dad's funeral, there was a little spike in decisions, and, the one that works for the diocese, she always feels that she has to be in command and control everything, just like our father, may he rest in peace. So, I kind of let her take the lead and, okay, whatever you decide, everything. We agree, everything. Well, now that it's been a year after we buried him, she kind of turned against the oldest sister, and we don't understand why. But even in our conversation, she's short, she's snippy. And when we be just her and myself. She's very kind, very loving, the sister that I know. But she does it to the oldest one. And they just went to a conference, and, my sister, the one in California, is trying to tell her, sis, take care of yourself, all these health issues. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I am. And we know she's not. But I told my oldest sister, and I go, write her a letter, because I heard it from you guys. Write her a letter, ask her for forgiveness, whether you've done something wrong or not. Just, tell her that you want her back, that you want that unity again. And she still hasn't done it, but I pray and I ask God to open her eyes, especially because she works for the diocese. And I go, come on, Lord, open her eyes. Open her heart. She is a loving person. We know she's in there. And we can never have a conversation without her having us on speakerphone with my brother-in-law listening to everything. And we just want her back. We want our sisterhood to come back alive the way it was prior to Dad's passing, where we laughed. So that's what I want.
Okay. Well, Raquel, a couple things if you're open to it, because we actually work quite extensively in this area in life coaching. So I can help you with a few things. And I thank you for listening to the show and hearing about writing the letter. That is great. I think you said both your sisters work for the church. Is that correct?
One works for the church, the one in Vegas, and the other one does a lot of services for the work. She helps with funerals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
she
perfect.
helps with the funeral.
Okay. So first of all, I think people need to realize in general who are listening to the show, when you work for the church, when you're a religious sister, when you're a clergy, the demons are going to be even that much more, active, because they want to break the people away from the church. Okay. So your sisters already have, probably, a lot of, external kind of, there's some darkness there in the sense that they want to move them away from focusing on God. So if they can get that, if the demons can get you to act not like Christ-like, not Christ-like, then they have succeeded. So what you're doing, though, I think is beautiful. You're coming in the middle and you're saying, listen, Dad wanted us 3 girls to be together. I think it's beautiful. Couple things I would do. Get a picture of the 3 of you together, put the picture and send it to both your sisters, the 3 of you together, and just say, this is what Dad wanted, the 3 of us. I love it when I look at this picture, this is what this does for me, and just put it out there, that your love that you have, Raquel, for your sisters. With your sister that should write the letter, I would just pray to ask your guardian angel to go to her guardian angel. Also ask your guardian angel to go to your other sister's guardian angel, to connect the angels so they can be in communication. And I would just ask your sister, say, if you don't even want to write a whole letter, just a postcard. Okay. Just saying, hey, I love you, sis. You're my sister. And Raquel sent us this picture of the 3 of us together. And that's what I want. I want the 3 of us together. Sometimes you just have to state it to get the conversation going, and things will start to roll. Obviously, your sister that's a little short with your other sister, she's obviously got hurt feelings. That's why people get snippy and get very curt. But remember, when people work for the church, volunteer for the church, or they are religious or clergy, they're a bigger target for the demons. So the demons are working overtime to try and pull them away and have them do things that aren't Christ-like. So you keep that in mind too. So prayers for your sisters would be beneficial too, Raquel. I'm sure you've done all this already, but we have new listeners who are listening who probably have the same situation. What do you think?
I agree, definitely. Never did see it. And I know, yes, any demon will come to destroy the family. And I just never put it together until you brought it up about attacking her, because she is close to the church. I mean, she runs the whole catechism. And, I see this woman and I go, oh, my God, I could never do that. But I'm thankful because her name is Guadalupe, and we even named her St. Guadalupe. St. Guadalupe, and all of a sudden we stopped calling her because the demons did start, and I can see it now. You opened myself to a whole different chapter, and it's true. It is so true what you're telling me. I'll mention it to my older sister, and I have the perfect picture of all three of us with our father, and I'm going to blow it up to a 5x7, and I go, I want this for us to get together. Because we got together a couple of years ago for Thanksgiving. Just the three of us took a road trip. We spent it on the road, Thanksgiving, not with our spouses or our children, just the three of us. I told him, I want to do that again, just the three of us, without spouses and children and grandchildren. And that's what my focus is, to get us together, back to the point where Dad is rejoicing in heaven and seeing us. They're doing what I wanted them to do.
That's beautiful, Raquel. And as you know, probably from listening to the program, Debbie, Debbie is the actual one who writes names in our prayer book. If you're comfortable giving us your father's first name, and well, she's added you and your sisters as well, but we'd love to have your dad's first name if you're okay with that.
That is fine, and I'll spell it out. It's Roque.
I got it.
Roque?
Okay. Roque.
Okay.
Okay, I got it.
So you're kind of named after him, sort of, Raquel.
Yep. And it was just a blessing to have him, because I kept him 6 months out of the year. Then he commuted to Las Vegas, and I think she's not jealous. She's just my sister in Vegas. She's just the thing that the bond that my father and I built, and me being the youngest, and me being the most devious out of all of them. And my dad told me, who would have imagined that you being the youngest would be the one that would be taken care of? And my rule when he would come to visit me, and I would tell him, okay, Dad, what are the rules here in my household? And he would just laugh, because I would tell him, look, because he always brought up about when he would pass away, what would I do? And I'd go, look, Dad, you're not allowed to pass away on my watch. Okay? You're not allowed to pass away on my watch. And I thank God, because he wasn't here, and he was in Vegas when he passed away. But that was the rule I always told him. Anything you want to do, but you're not allowed to pass away in my watch. And he kept his word. God kept his word.
Beautiful. Raquel, thank you so much. You've been a real joy to have on the program today. And we'll be definitely praying for this attempt to reunite and reunify all three of your sisters. We know it's what God wants, and obviously what you want. So we will pray for that. 833-288-3986. We're getting some people posting on the show website, which is take2show.com. And here is one from Stacy. She says, today's show is exactly what I am and have been dealing with. I have been feeling trapped in all of the ways you're speaking of. I haven't found my way out yet, but I know God is working through all of this. It's just so hard to go through and to see any progress. Thank you for your show today. Yesterday I went home and told my husband we needed to talk. He was so good. God used him to minister to me, even though he's not Catholic. He is a believer and has wisdom. Wish I could call in, but I'm at work listening. And that's from Stacy.
Okay, that's amazing.
So the show is...
Yes, having an impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that was amazing. I had to hold back the tears on that one. That's a good one. And that's what we're saying. We need support around us. Okay, Rose is up next, and Rose is in Boston, Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hello, Rose.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I was calling in again. It's just, I think it speaks to a lot of us. I've been struggling. I've always struggled throughout my life with motivation and willpower, and it just seems like the closer I'm trying to get to God, it's getting worse. And I know that that's the evil one trying, but it's just trying to overcome it. So, I say I almost get overwhelmed with the things I want to do, so I just end up not doing any of it. So, I want to pray the rosary, and I want to read the Bible, and I want to say prayers for all the people that I've said I want to pray for, and I want to read religious books, and, watch and listen to EWTN, and then I just end up finding I'm not doing any of it. So I just am not growing how I want to grow, and I feel like I'm getting prompting from God to say you need to be stronger, and how much do you want to be with me. But I'm struggling.
Well, Rose, thank you for calling in. And this is something a lot of people experience. And as you're talking, the first thing that comes to my mind is it's an age-old and time-tested approach to spiritual things and even life itself. And that is, start small. I think sometimes, you get, it sounds like you're thinking, well, I need to do this and this and this and add this and do this day. The thing is, take one little bit at a time. Like if you have trouble with motivation, praying the rosary, pray 1 decade of the rosary each day, or one full rosary a day. Or if you're thinking about, Mass, maybe you go to Mass, obviously hopefully on Sundays, but also one day during the week. And you know what? God is very good. God is fine with that. Debbie and I talk a lot on this show about, we use the term baby steps. We get that from our favorite movie, What About Bob? But it is true, Rose. I don't know. Have you thought about that? Or do you think you're just trying to, for whatever reason, maybe to please God, or just to, you just have a sincere desire to grow in holiness? But do you think you're taking on maybe too much at a time?
I think absolutely. I think I definitely, I have heard about, even breaking up the rosary throughout the day. Do a decade in the morning, and then even if you don't get them all, and I just don't. I don't know why I don't do it, but I need to rethink it and just, pray about, if there's certain things on my list of all the things I want to do during my day, if there's, certain things that I'm either being called, or if I'm not feel like I'm being called to one more than the other, then just pick one. And do it. Yeah, I do probably just need to break it into smaller groups, because I'm definitely overwhelming myself.
Yeah, we all do. We always seem like we feel like we have to do more and more and more, but less is more with God. So it's really quite amazing. We work with religious demonologist Adam Bly, and he talks about how one Hail Mary said very reverently and precisely and in a very intentional way has more power and merit than you can ever imagine. One Hail Mary. When he said that, I was like, one? I say like 150 a day, and he said that, and he works in exorcism ministry on a regular basis, Rose. So I agree with Jerry. Less is more with God. I have another suggestion for you, because when I was going through a really dry spell in my life, I had a wonderful friend who was not Catholic. She was a very devout Christian. She wasn't Catholic, but she said to me, "You need to do this," because she goes, "Just trust me." I said, "Okay, I trust you." And she said, play Christian music or Catholic hymns or Gregorian chant. Play it during the day. Just let it be playing in the background when you're at home, brushing your teeth, cleaning the house, doing the dishes, making dinner, whatever. And boy, oh boy, was she right. After about a couple weeks, Rose, everything started to come alive inside of me again. And just from hearing, going through my day. So I don't know if you've ever tried that, but I would love to share that with you and the others that are listening.
I do some, but not so much Gregorian chant, but I will have to, because I also have heard how much the demons hate Gregorian chant.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, I will have to, but those are wonderful suggestions, and I think it is just even if I have just 5 minutes where I can, be completely focused on whatever it is I choose for those 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes that if I didn't do it, then it wouldn't have gotten done. So, yeah, thank you. Those are wonderful suggestions, and I'll start playing. I'll find some Gregorian chants to play in the background too.
And just one other thought I had, Rose, maybe create some structure in your day, put a schedule together, and that way maybe you can find time for a full rosary. But I'll tell you this, I break my rosary up almost every day. I drive to morning mass. I pray a decade on the way to morning mass. I do my holy hour. I'll pray a decade or two. Maybe I run errands to the store or something, and I'll pray. Pretty soon, by the end of the day, I've gotten a full rosary in, but not all in one sitting. So you're on the right track, Rose. So keep moving in the right direction, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the suggestions.
Oh, God bless you. Yeah, thanks for being with us. We mentioned the craziness going on in the world early in the program.
Yeah.
And tonight, church leaders in Germany, maybe you've been hearing about this, are challenging the Vatican, voting in favor of sweeping reform of church teaching. You're going to hear about this and how we should view that and approach it on EWTN News in Depth with Monse Alvarado. That is tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on EWTN Radio and TV. And also, as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Pope Francis's pontificate, they will look at his impact in the digital world. So, very important episode of EWTN News in Depth with Monse Alvarado tonight at 8 Eastern on EWTN.
Cannot wait to watch that. Absolutely. Mary in Sioux City, Iowa on Siouxland Catholic Radio. You are up next. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. I went through seasonal affective depression many years ago, and winter is very hard for me also. There's a professor at Morningside College here in Sioux City who did research on this long, long time ago. And he developed or encouraged the use of full-spectrum lighting. Back then, you had to rent it from the doctor, and it was prescription. Well, now you can get lamps and have them. Because in our northern latitudes, we don't get enough sun all year long, and therefore we don't produce vitamin D. So that helps, but also my daughter was severely depressed, went to the doctor, and she had absolutely no vitamin D in her system. It's very important to have that checked for all of us. And in the Scandinavian countries, all their buildings, public buildings, probably the halls too, have full spectrum lighting. And I think we need to do that here in the States, but that's me. But also, I wanted to give a testimony on the power of the rosary. I'm the only practicing Catholic in my family, which is quite large. And I had a handicapped son that I took care of for 31 years. And during that time, when I would be feeding him, I would have the rosary. Father Cooper was on the cassettes back then, who started Trinity Heights and the Catholic radio here in Sioux City. And we would listen to that, or when I had cable, then we watched Mother Angelica and the rosary. So for 41 years, I've been saying the rosary. In that time, my parents, who had quit going to church, died in the church. My sister, who'd been away for 40 years, had the last sacraments twice before she died. My brother, who'd been away from 30 years, got the sacraments. And my son that just died recently is with the Lord. And my husband, who wanted to convert, but he had learning problems, and then he lost most of his hearing when he decided to try, and he couldn't hear in the church at all. So then, when he was in the nursing home with Alzheimer's, I talked to the priest, because I said he was such a good man and he wanted so much, but everything prevented him. And he said, talk to the priest in the town, because he was 40 miles away, and he can say special prayers, conditional prayers for him when he's dying. And they called and said, come, and my two kids were on their way up there, and then they called and said, well, he's gone. And I told them that he wasn't waiting for us. He was waiting for the priest to come there, persona Christi, Jesus to come to get him.
You are absolutely right, Mary. The power of the rosary cannot be overstated. We're going to we'll put you and all of the relatives that you just mentioned in our prayer book, and we'll be praying the Take Two family around the world for all of you. Dave in Philadelphia, I know you had a comment to make on a previous caller. I apologize. There's the music. Ace is playing it for us. Judy in Albany. We are just not going to get to all of you. On Monday, we remember that old song, Running with the Devil? Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to be talking about shopping with the devil, and that is, do you try to avoid doing business with companies that support objectionable moral issues, like abortion and things like that? That'll be our topic on Monday, Debbie, so really looking forward to that. Thanks to the show team today, Ace and Matt and Michael. Thank you, affiliates, for carrying the program. Until Monday, have a beautiful and blessed weekend. St. Joseph, pray for us.
The most original Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.